Does Jesus really heal the broken? Everyone always says that, but what does it even mean? Alright, so this is my life story. At around age 11, I started to see people for who they really were. I noticed the dirty looks. I noticed little comments people would make. My teachers and my principal would always tell me, you never amount to anything. You're such a bad kid. How dare you call yourself a Christian? That sort of stuff. My parents always expected a lot from me too, and I think their expectations were a little high. But the worst part about all this is all those people claim to be Christians. I sat there in the same spot every week, listening to the same guy every week. Then Audrey came. I knew about Audrey, I knew about her reputation as, the bad kid who swore and drank and smoked and partied and all that good stuff. She came and sat by me, and I thought it was a little weird, we don't really talk anyways, but she seemed to pick up on the emptiness that I felt inside, the sadness. And she talked to me. She's like, how you doing? And I told her, how I was doing genuinely, and she seemed to really care. She was weird, just like me, turns out. And I felt that she genuinely cared about me. So this one night, I was really bored, so I called up Audrey to see if she wanted to do something. She was actually grounded, so I came up with an idea of, hey, sneak her into my house. So we snuck her in to my house. It was probably around 5 o'clock, and she said, let's call up Jake. Jake was this guy I kind of had my eye on for a while, and she made it sound like he really liked me, so I was like, yeah, let's go over there. So we just told my mom we were going to just go to the 7-Eleven and be back in a few hours, so we walked to Jake's. And when we got there, my mom called Audrey, wanted to know where I was, and we told her, we're at the 7-Eleven, but she was there waiting for us, so she knew we were lying, and eventually, I told her, yeah, we're at Jake's house, so she came to come pick me up. She was furious. I was grounded for, about 2 months. And after we dropped Audrey off, I went home. The feelings of worthlessness came back, the emptiness. I didn't feel beautiful regardless of what all these other guys thought. And that's when the cutting started. Every time something wrong happened, I went to cutting. But then it started to escalate. Every time something didn't go my way, I would run to cutting. It kind of got rid of the emotional pain, and I kind of focused on the physical pain of it, I guess. It felt good. But it didn't become enough for me anymore, so I started to burn too. And again, every time afterwards, the feeling of worthlessness would come back again. It was just this ongoing cycle. The words that my principal and my teacher and all those other people said, they started to come back to me. And one day I was done. I stayed home from school that day. I told my mom I wasn't feeling well. I planned on committing suicide that day. I was in the middle of writing this letter, actually, my suicide letter. In it, I wrote, things to all the people I loved or all the people I hated, just things I wanted them to know. And in the middle of that, my aunt, from out of nowhere, just comes in my room, and she wanted to know what I was up to. Just told her I was writing, and I think she picked up on what was going on because she saw my arm, and she looked at me, she wiped away the tear from my eyes, and she just held me, and she asked me, have you read your Bible lately? I was like, no. And I hadn't, and she told me to flip open to Psalms and see what God had to say to me. So as she left, I flipped open my Bible to Psalms, and it was Psalm 107. I asked myself, does God really heal broken people? And as I read that verse, I felt this wave of like peace come over me. I felt loved, but it was a different kind of love. It felt like a God hug, if that makes any sense. So the next night, it was a Wednesday, youth group night. It was like a concert of prayer. It was like worship night, so I went in there, and it felt like every song was written for me, So afterwards, I talked to my youth pastors, asked them for prayer for me, because I just wanted some guidance, I guess. And he asked me something that really didn't really have anything to do with what I was asking him for. He just asked me straight up. He's like, Sarah,